All right, it's that time of the day. It's 4:30 Monday, California. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to give it some time to have some viewers come on. But while we are waiting, I wanted to introduce Sean. Sean is my guest. She's a realtor in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm looking forward to go there. Hopefully one of these days I'll make it there to play golf. Everybody tells me to go play golf
the golf
during
mecca.
January, February, March. So Sean, introduce us to the viewers and the viewers who will be watching this later on.
Yeah.
Who you are, what you do, and what's happening in your market there.
So I'm Sean, and I have been selling real estate since 1998. I am in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been here since 2001. I was in Flagstaff, the northern part of Arizona, and then I was in Lake Tahoe for a little while and then came here. So I've been here since 2001, and I'm in the North Scottsdale area, the golf mecca. So if you come to play golf, you'll probably be in my neck of the woods.
Right.
Literally, the Phoenix Open is being set up right. It's been started. They start setting it up in October. And I mean, it's like 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I have some friends who come there every year.
Yeah.
And they drink a lot of beer.
Oh my gosh. Last year
they don't throw the can, so that's the good news. They don't throw it, so.
Yeah. No, last year was crazy because we had so much rain.
Right. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how they change things this year.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I want to get into the topic, and the question is, I'll read out the question that came out in the media and the news and all the channels is, why the U.S. home sales just hit a 30-year low, what it means for you. So it sounds scary. Since 1999, we have had the lowest sales, and what we're talking about is the lowest number of homes for sale. It's the lowest in 30 years, and it sounds scary, but it's really not. So what we want to talk about is a couple of things. Why do we have the least sales, and what are the causes, and what is the impact of what's happening in the market for the buyers and the sellers, the affordability, or why are sellers not moving, why are buyers not buying. So let's talk about all those things. But when you hear that, Sean, lowest sales in 30 years, you as a realtor, what does it mean to you, and what do you think the buyers and the sellers thinking about it? So give us two scenarios.
Well, I think that first of all, it's the lowest unit number, right, of sales that we've had. And actually for us, last year, we did not end up that way. Our 2023 was worse than our 2024. So I think you have to I always say you have to look at it nationally and then kind of drill it down into every state. And then you have to drill it down into cities and all of that. But there are less people buying homes right now. Yeah. It's not necessarily a want, it's a need if it's happening. So that's where I see it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? The best thing let me read out a report so that they get the information from not us, but from the experts. This is from PBS, and it just came out actually on the 24th, a couple of days ago. It says that the sales of previously occupied U.S. homes fell in 2024 to a nearly 30-year low for the second time in as many as elevated years, as elevated mortgage rates, rising home prices, and few properties on the market freeze prospective home buyers out of the market. The National Association of Realtors said on Friday that existing U.S. home sales totaled 4.06 million last year, a 0.7 decline from 2023. This is the weakest year for home sales since 1995, echoing the full year results from 2023. I don't know if I shared that or not. Did I share that?
It wasn't on the screen, no.
Okay, sorry about that. I meant to share it. I got too excited to share it, but let me share it right now so you can see it. There you go. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
This is the article I just shared. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share another article which talks about the inventory. So let's talk about the inventory. Let me share that screen. This time I won't forget. Sorry about that. Let's see. I'm going to stop this and then share another screen. Okay. So just so that people know, or the viewers know, inventory is how many homes are for sale at any given time. And then this report shows the nationwide, this report is from Redfin, by the way. It shows the U.S. housing supply over the last 5 years right now, and this is December 2024, is showing about a 3 month supply. So I can explain, but Sean, you want to explain what that means and what your supply is in your area? And I'll talk about how many homes for sale or what's the supply in my area.
Well, it's funny because this comes up on any channel that I'm ever on. Well, a 3 month supply means that it's a seller's market.
Right.
But we don't track it like that. Well, some people here track it like that. We are really unique in that we have a report that's done by a mathematician. He tracks the market every single day. So I don't look at month supply.
Right.
I look at a contract ratio. I look at an index for my market. But I've got super, super detailed data.
Right.
In my market.
Yeah. And just for the viewer knows, so what basically, just to compare right now, what that means is if no other homes come for sale, and this is US data, it's a 3 month supply. That means if no homes come on the market, it'll take 3 months to sell what we have, which is pretty low. During the 2008, and I'm sure you were there, Sean.
Yeah.
In 2008, the month supply was 11 to 12 months, depending on where you were. That means it took a year to sell a house. If you put your house for sale in 2008 in the recession, it took a year. Right now, it takes about 3 months to sell a home, which means it's very fast. The normal is anywhere from 4 to 6 months. Again, it depends on your market. Every market is different, but these are general US numbers. Yours may take 5 months. What I'm seeing in Anaheim Hills area, our days on market, that means if a house comes on the market, if it's priced well, in decent condition, it's going to sell within 45 days. A lot of them are selling within 10 days. And the really good ones sell within the first 2 days. They have multiple offers. We're seeing multiple offers right now. So just to let you know, the inventory, for example, it has been low since 2020. So I want to talk about a couple of things. One, so going back to the title, it's scary. Oh my God, the lowest sales in 30 years. Oh my God, hell's going to break loose. Nothing's going to happen. What that means is one thing. Well, two things. Number one, if you're a buyer, it means prices are going to go up. And if you're a seller, you're going to get a lot of price for your home. But if you buy, you're going to pay a higher price. That's what it means. Bottom line. So it's nothing scary. It's still a seller's market. And it's been a seller's market since 2016, 2017. It's crazy. It's not a buyer's market rate. I know that in some states, I know every time I talk about on my live or videos, I'm talking about Florida, and I hate to talk about it and put them as a scapegoat, but Florida's inventory may be higher right now. Florida prices are coming down in certain areas because of the disasters crisis and the insurance crisis and the HOA crisis.
I have two clients right now coming from, I have two clients right now coming from Florida.
Oh, they're coming from Florida to Arizona? Okay. Are they selling the house, or are they just relocating? Or
they're relocating, but one of them both of them really are specifically coming because they don't want to deal with the hurricanes anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
And they're in two different locations.
Right. Yeah, I did a video a few months back, and one of the things I mentioned is that a lot of people went to Florida, but in the last 2 years, less and less people are going into Florida, and more people are going out of Florida. And one of the number one state they're moving to is North Carolina, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Texas is there. Arizona might be there.
We're still there. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever looked at the United Van Lines report, the migration report. And Arizona is still dark blue, but you're right. I mean, I've seen a lot of people do North Carolina, South Carolina in those areas.
Right. Okay. So Sean, I want to talk about two things. One, from the buyer's perspective, because every seller is going to be a buyer, and I attract a lot of sellers on my view. I don't know why, but I have a lot of sellers on my channel. But seller, when they sell, usually they're going to buy, unless they move with their kids or they have a second home. But let's pretend the sellers are going to buy another house. So let's talk about what low inventory means to the buyer or today, and then we'll talk about the seller. What are the disadvantages if you're a buyer today? And when I say today, it's 2025. The market's still strong. Rates are high. Inflation is high. Trump administration is in. We don't know what the impact is going to be with the mass deportation and the re-regulations, the tariffs. So we won't go there because it hasn't come into effect. We'll talk about it next year, after a year, when we see the impact. So talking about the advantage and disadvantage of buyers, what are some of the things that you may tell them if somebody's watching us right now?
Well, for buyers, you have to be... I always tell my buyers you have to be a little bit patient.
Mm-hmm.
because if you want something really specific, it might take time for you to find it. Because I don't know about your market there, but our market here, our inventory is up from during the pandemic, where we had 4,500 listings on the market. I mean, we're at 20,000, but that's still not super high, but we definitely have more, but still I have buyers that we can't find something that they want. But there's homes, but the homes that are there need work. They need some updating, and they're still priced really high.
Okay. And are they selling, or they're sitting, or
they're sitting? A lot of them are sitting until there's price reductions, and so I feel like we have a dichotomy of a market where we've got homes that are coming on the market that are great homes, completely remodeled, everything that anybody would want, priced well, in a great location, and they go really, really fast, and sometimes with multiple offers.
Okay.
And then we have the other homes that are sitting on the market because they're a little dated. They need a little refresh, and they're just not selling.
Wow. Now, is this Scottsdale area, or
it's everywhere?
Okay,
It's
Phoenix
really
area,
everywhere.
Glendale area.
Yeah, it's really
Scottsdale.
everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting because, again, I mean, our market used to be looked at as a more affordable market. We are not affordable anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Okay. So what's one or two things that the buyer can do to be able to buy something?
Well,
yes, they're sitting on the market, but
right. Here's what I tell buyers, because our market is the way that it is. If you're willing to do a little bit of work to the house, and the house has been sitting for a little while, you're in a really good position to negotiate, and you've got some leverage.
Okay.
And so we go in and we negotiate, and then we do the inspection. We might negotiate a little bit more.
Right.
And we try to find
your sellers giving credits, or sometimes they give closing costs? Hey, I'm gonna have to do paint and carpet. So can you give me closing costs so that I can save some money and do the paint and carpet or whatever?
And usually what happens is, and I'll be honest, I don't work in a price range where there's a ton of seller concessions, but there's sometimes there are. But they'll usually ask for the concessions up front. And honestly, right now, because the interest rates are high, I know we're going to get to that, but because the interest rates are high, oftentimes they need that seller concession for closing costs because the rates are so high, or to try to do a temporary buy down of some sort. So they're needing those concessions. And then when we get into the inspection period, if other stuff needs to be done to the house, if they won't do it, then that's when additional credits come into play as well.
Okay. But are sellers more flexible? Because if I'm a seller and my home's not selling now, it used to sell in 3 days.
Yeah.
Am I thinking, you know what, I better give some credit. I better fix that dishwasher's not working. Maybe I should fix it. So you see a change a little bit in there?
We've got some of that. Again, it's very, it's house by house. So if your house is really good, again, are you going to need to do some of the fixing and things like that when it comes time for the inspection? You are. I mean,
right.
But are you going to have to do that much? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. Okay. And how much do you think the interest rate is affecting the purchase of a buyer? And we're talking, I know you're in the higher end area in Scottsdale, Anaheim Hills, for example, Orange County. Our medium home sales price is 1.2, 1.3.
Yeah,
for $1 million, you get your bread and butter home.
Yeah, we're similar.
For the first time buyers, you think that has something to do with the impact of the sellers holding on?
I do think it has a little bit of an impact. Okay. But I will tell you that more and more, even in that price point, because I have people that are coming here buying second homes, and they're going to pay cash, or they're going to get a loan, but it's going to be a really small loan.
Right.
They're like, look, I'll get a small loan for now, just because I don't want to pull all the money out. But I think 800 to $1 million, which is, we have some of those as well. Right. I think that's really affecting buyers.
Okay.
And that price point.
Because the rates have gone too, and then you're talking close to jumbo loans or something, getting close to jumbo rates, which are higher,
Right.
So some of the trends I'm reading at the report here: buyer trends and behavior, examining the shift in buyer demographics and preferences. Example, moving to suburban or rural areas. Hey, if Scottsdale or Glendale or Phoenix is too expensive, maybe move out a little bit, half an hour,
Well, and so that's that's some of the stuff that started happening even before the pandemic hit, is that we have outlined. So we have the Phoenix metro area is really big.
Okay.
I know California, because that's where I grew up, and Southern California, and it's huge. But it's like we're starting to butt up against other cities that were outside of the Phoenix area, because new cities have come up.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where a lot of people, when a lot of people left California, they would go into Surprise, Arizona, or they would go into Queen Creek, or they would go into Buckeye, where it was much more affordable. They'd sell their house in California. They'd come over here. They'd pay cash. They get twice the size house and double the yard space.
Right.
But they were in the outskirts of Phoenix.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I want to bring up another screen and show you why there's a shortage, and then we'll talk about why there's a shortage, why sellers are acting the way they are or behaving the way they are. Nothing bad about it. Hey, if I was a seller, I'd do the same thing. So let me share on the screen and we'll look at it just for a minute. Let's see. Stop screen share. And okay. There you go. Can you see the screen now before I say anything?
Now I can.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. All right. So that is the one. Why is there a housing supply? So this is from bank rate. Oops, what happened? Personal loans. Oops, what happened to that? I just skipped it. Okay, there it is. So it says, why is housing supply so low? Understanding the U.S. housing shortage. Now, again, keep in mind that this is a U.S. housing shortage. Where you are, maybe you're in Montana or Idaho, or I'm in Orange County. It's different, but this is the national stats. The key takeaway is why there's a shortage, so that we understand the housing shortage is essentially a problem of supply and demand. There is not enough housing supply to meet the demand of those who want to buy. And we've had this demand since last 4 or 5 years, and I don't see myself the demand going down at all. In fact, it's going to go up. The second thing is the pandemic. Inflation and elevated interest rates have all contributed to the shortage. And we'll talk about why. And then third thing they say here is that new home construction dropped precipitously after the Great Recession, and it has yet to fully recover. And I totally agree with that. So let's go back and talk about the first point, which is, let me see here. The housing shortage is supply and demand. In Orange County, in Southern California, there's a big demand. There's a lot of buyers buying, first-time buyers, second-time buyers. There are a lot of investors. There's a lot of money coming in, and they're buying. So there's a big demand to buy all kinds of homes. I'm not just talking about first-time home buyers. I'm talking multifamily units. I'm talking duplexes. Coastal homes are selling, 5 million, 7 million, 8 million. They're selling within 4 or 5 months. Those homes take a while, but even those are selling. How's the demand in your area? And when I say your, like generally speaking, Arizona, because it's a whole new state.
Well, so our demand, this is our season right now.
Okay.
First of all, so our demand always picks up during this time of year. So our demand has come up, and our supply this is also the time, especially in the luxury market, because most people pull their homes off the market in the luxury market in the summer. Then they put it back on during this time of year because they know that all those people are coming back into town.
Right.
So it's normal. It's a normal trend for us to see our inventory come up, but our demand also comes up.
Right.
So we're kind of getting back to our seasonal norms, which we hadn't seen in a long, long time.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about the national picture now. I talked about it. Why do you feel there's so much demand? First of all, why has there been a demand for so long? You've been in the business a long time. We've seen so much demand after the pandemic. So much. In 2021, 6 million homes sold.
Yeah.
6.2, and then it dropped to 5.4. Then it dropped to almost 4 right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to go up this year. That's what the prediction is. Why has there been such a big demand? Considering the prices have gone up since 2011, they've been going up and up and up and up and up and up, and there's still big demand. What gives?
Well, I mean, you have to look at the pandemic, right? And then everybody got that, right to, work remotely anywhere. And so all those people that lived in big cities started to move out so that they could get their families out of the city. They could get their families out into the, have more space, bigger house, all those things. Right. And then I think that some of the things that are happening right now is these people are being called back to work. I mean, I know of some agents that are in Idaho, and they had a bunch of people move into Idaho, and now those people have been called back to work. They said you can no longer work remotely.
Really?
Okay. They've had to sell their homes there and move back to wherever they came from to keep their jobs.
Okay, so we're gonna see some movement. They're gonna have to go back. Yeah, I know some friends. Yeah,
I had a client that came from Oregon. They moved here from Oregon, and they looked at Idaho, And the reason they selected here is because our job market is better than Idaho. They said, if for some reason our job said, hey, we want you to come back, we wanted to know that we were in a location where we could just find another job and not go back.
Right. Yeah. By the way, if you're watching right now, or if you're watching after the live and watching a recording, do make us comment. Do make some comments to see what's happening in your market area, or what do you see is happening. Is the market going to slow down or not? So let us know what you think, so that next time we have this live, we can talk about what you're thinking, because we do this live for you. So if you can share any comments or have any questions during the live or after, we'd really appreciate it. So yeah. Okay. So let's look at the second point. Let me get back to it. The pandemic, inflation, and elevated interest rates have all contributed to the shortage. So let's take one at a time. Let's talk about the pandemic. I mean, if I'm a buyer or seller, consumer, why would I think that was important, that there's a shortage? What's
of housing?
the reason? Yeah.
Well, that was because everyone was buying and moving. And so everyone
Right.
was moving so fast. So,
Right.
I mean, it just happened.
Right. One thing that I say, and this applies to me directly, I remodeled my house just before the pandemic in 2018. I remodeled my house, spent quite a bit of money. And during COVID, especially, a lot of people could not show homes, could not look at homes, could not move. Remote work came in. So a lot of the sellers remodeled a lot because they say, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
So all those people, including myself, hey, I remodeled, I buried some money in the house, I'm not moving anywhere. So that's one reason there's a shortage of supply, because all those people who remodeled and now love their home, it is much better than I've been here 25 years. So, homes get dated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's good. I got new appliances, I got new tiles, I got this, blah, blah, blah. The other thing that's happening is I refinanced my house back in 2016 at 3%, but everybody in 2021, 2022, everybody had homes that had mortgages. What is 80% of them refinanced under 4.5% or under 5%, and 50% refinance under 4%. Those guys are not moving. They're going to say, hey, I got 3%. Why should I move into a 7% home?
At a higher price.
Right? So that's another factor causing the shortage.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're in a 3% mortgage.
Yeah.
I would move if if the right house came up, but
yeah,
if I'm moving, I'm not selling this house.
Yeah. And, of course, if I'm working and if my boss says, hey, you got to move to Texas, you got a CEO job, if I have to move, or my kids went to college and they want us to be there so we can help them with their, sports or whatever, or if I have to move because my parents are ill and I have to be close to them, there are people selling, if they have to sell, forced. But if I don't have to sell, like, I have a choice. I can sell or not sell.
Right.
I mean, I have a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, been here 25 years. It's just me and my wife now.
Yeah.
You don't need the 4 bedrooms. But I have a bedroom downstairs in case in the future my niece get shot or something happens. I have a protection. I have a bedroom and a bath downstairs, so I don't have to move.
Right.
But if I had to move, if I had knee issues and didn't have a bedroom downstairs, or if I have some elderly parents, my parents are not here anymore, but if they were coming, I would consider moving to a single-story home. But right now, I have a choice not to move.
Right.
So all these little things are adding to the shortage. And as homes get, it's supply and demand. The less things you have, the more price it is. So going back to the buyer, if you're thinking about buying, if you haven't bought, and if you have been waiting for 2 years, 3 years, things are not going to change. Sorry to say that. Rates could come down. They're at 7%. They could come down to 6.5%. They could be 7%. They could go to 8%. Who knows? 1980s, it was at 18%, 12%. People were buying, right? So, buy, like I always say, buy when you are ready, willing, and able to buy. So,
if you can afford the payments,
Exactly. And, if you're looking for an $800,000 house in Scottsdale and now the rates are up and you can only afford 700, I'm not saying you should move, but that's something you may want to consider. Or instead of getting the 4-bedroom, you may want to consider a 3-bedroom. Or if you're looking for a brand new home, and if a 30-year-old home is a little bit cheaper, you may want to consider that. I'm not saying do it. I'm saying consider it. Give it an option.
The big thing, and I don't know about you, because I know Southern California is a little bit like us, where you guys don't have a lot of land. But in the outlying areas, that is where all of our new construction is. And one of the things that's pushing people out there as well is not only that the home prices are a little bit lower, but those home builders are able to do rate buy downs. They're giving huge incentives. I was just with a client the other day. The new home construction builder was giving an 8.5% incentive.
What is that? You mean like off the purchase price?
No, not off the purchase price, to use towards closing costs, rate buy downs, things like that. 8.5%. That's big.
That's big. Yeah.
Big.
What area is this? How far from you? What city?
There, one was in Queen Creek and the other one is in Peoria.
Okay. And how far is that from, let's say,
From
Scottsdale?
me, 45 to 50 minutes.
That's not bad.
In opposite directions.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And you get a better house for 800 compared to Scottsdale?
You get a brand new house in an area that's out a little farther.
Right.
You know?
Hey.
But
if you can afford it, and if you can, I'm remote. We're not going to talk about remote work now because things are changing, but if you can find a job there, or if you have your own business there,
right.
I'm also hearing that, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that I read a KCM report, which is a Keeping Current Matters. They said that new builders are building more smaller homes than before because they're more affordable. So what they said, the report said, I remember the report, it said in 2020, the average new build homes was 2,400 square feet, 2,421 or something. In 2024, that has dropped to about 19 or 21, 27 square feet. So builders are making them smaller so they stay more affordable, which is good.
I do. I agree with you. I think that's good. I think that's hard in some places because, again, like for us, in certain areas, the land is so expensive that you go smaller and the prices stay the same.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if you add a little bit more square footage, ultimately it doesn't cost that much more to give people a little bit more space, and the price changes,
exactly.
Very small.
Right. Okay. Now this article also mentions inflation. I don't want to talk too much about inflation. We're not economists, but what do you feel is a factor of the inflation when it comes to affordability for the first-time home buyer, or how is that really affecting? And I have some comment on that because I just made a video, and I'll talk about what it is.
Like, so what do I think is causing inflation? Is that the question?
That inflation is having an impact on the purchase or the affordability.
Well, I think inflation is having an impact on everything, not just housing. And but I do think it trickles down to housing, right? So when people are looking at, hey, I want to buy a house, but how much does everything else cost?
Exactly.
So then that cuts into how much they can afford for a home.
Right. So I have a video. I think it came out or just coming out on my regular videos, and the talk was how the monthly expense is becoming sky high compared to 5 years ago. It used to be, your payment is PITI, principal, interest, tax, and insurance. It used to be that your principal, interest, and insurance, let's say you have a $2,000 a month mortgage as an example, almost 1,500 of that was principal and interest. Well, most of it is interest, but we'll call it principal and interest. And then you have tax and insurance of $500. Now what they're saying is certain states like Nebraska or Texas or Florida, where not only has the property tax skyrocketed, where there's no limit on property tax, like California, we have 1%, right? And the insurance has skyrocketed, like in Florida and Nebraska. So what's happening is now the tax and insurance in some state is catching up to principal and interest. So no longer it's 1,500 and 500, it's almost 1,000 and 1,000. And what's happening, and then you add the association for all those new homes or townhomes or condos and new homes with this association, because the insurance goes up, the HOA goes up. So all of a sudden your $22,000 payment is getting more than $2,000, and almost 50-50 is principal and interest with other junk fees. And that's affecting a lot of affordability. In fact, Florida, I read a report. There's a lady who's 73 years old. She was on the news. She's been there for 25 years in these big high rises. And after the collapse of that building, they've got new regulations where the condo buildings over 3 stories have to be inspected and reassessed for disasters and collapsing and all that. So some of these condos, the homeowners are getting assessment of $20,000, $50,000 annually to build it. So this lady goes, look, I've been here for 20 years. I'm on a fixed income and I've been paying my dues and rents and HOA. Now, because of the hurricane, my condo got damaged. So they have to fix that. HOA went from 200 to, let's say, 1,000. Her insurance went from 1,000 to 3,000. I have no money. I'm 73 years old. I have no place to go. I have no friends or relatives. Where am I going to go? She's staying in the house, not paying, and said, I'll wait until I kicked out of this house.
Yeah. It's
That's a true
really
story,
sad.
and this is what's happening.
I know it. It's
So
really
for people
sad.
who
I
are
mean,
fixed income seniors, they can't afford to pay the extra. And she
No.
can't sell it because the market tanked in Florida, or it is tanking. Sorry to say that, but it's a fact.
Well, for those condos, I mean, I have
condos.
another client that sold his condo in Florida, and we're looking here, and we've been looking for a while, and that was one of the reasons he left. He said, I do not want an HOA.
Right.
I can't. He moved into his condo, then there was a leak from the unit above, and now he's, the insurance and the whole thing. And what's really bad is that with these fires in California as well, everybody's. It doesn't matter if you're in California or not. Everyone's insurance is going to go up again.
Yep. Yeah. Well, California, I'm just waiting for my bill, crossing my fingers. I'm ready to pay double.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready to pay triple or quadruple.
I know.
And now with the fires, I'm really scared, so because, our fires are an hour away,
Right.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. Auto insurance, my auto insurance is already up. I have earthquake insurance that I pay. We're not supposed, I pay that. And then I have the housing insurance.
Right.
Then we have the business insurance. So we're paying so much insurance,
Right.
So let's go back to, let me take out this screen. Let's go back to what we were discussing about the impact about the low inventory. We talked about the buyer side. Let's talk about the seller side. If I'm a seller, what should be some of my concerns, or what some of the things I may think about if I'm thinking about selling and then buying?
Well, it's a tricky spot if you're a seller, if you're thinking about selling and buying. It always
and
was.
I have a low interest rate, assuming I have 4%.
I know. Well, I mean, it always was before, because I mean, oftentimes, if you're a seller and you're going to buy, you're taking the equity out of the house to put into the new house. So there's usually a contingency and all of that. So that has always been tricky, and it's still tricky right now, because I say, because we personally, we don't have a lot of really, really good inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a house that's really, really good and you want it, you cannot have a contingency. They won't look at it.
Yeah.
Again, if the house is sitting for a while, will they take a contingency? They might. But will they take one if you don't have an offer on your house? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
So you really kind of get stuck a little bit. I mean, it can all work out, and I've done it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tricky.
Yeah. Tricky. Right. Yeah. So, it says here that, many sellers are reluctant to list their home due to the golden handcuffs from low interest rate. They got this 2%, 3%, not 2, but 2.5%, 3%, 4%. They don't let it go. But at the same time, they don't want to pay the 6%. But, like they say, and I know realtors say this, and a lot of people don't like us saying that, hey, rates will soon come down. Maybe not in the first year, second year, but if you pay 7%, let's say you pay 7%, you have 3%. But let's say you bought the house, like in my case, I bought my house 20 years ago, so I have a lot of equity. Mm-hmm. So if I sell my house, I've got nothing but equity. If I take all that, and let's say I move to Scottsdale, Arizona, buy $800,000 house, I can put a big down payment. And let's say I take a $200,000 loan at 7%, which is, oh my God, 7%. But I know, well, I hope that it'll change in 1 or 2 or 3 years, and I can always refinance.
Right.
But I'm using my equity to have a different lifestyle. I might have a brand new home there. I might be on a golf course if I'm a golf fan, which I am. I have a view. I don't have to have a 4-bedroom. I can have a small 2,000 square feet home, brand new, with a big lot. And I'm not too far from my kids.
Right.
So that's an option. But I'm having a new lifestyle, or maybe I want to move there because I have some friends or family or relatives, and
Right.
So
and I mean,
at some point you have to bite the bullet, right? I mean,
I have had some buyers and sellers say, you know what, I'm tired of waiting. I was waiting and waiting and waiting. And they'll ask me, what do you think is going to happen at the interest rate? I was like, honestly, this year, I don't think much.
Yeah.
I don't think much is going to happen. I think it's going to bounce around.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to be anything drastic.
Nothing. Right. Okay.
But I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, interest rates will change at some point.
Right.
When that's going to happen, we don't know. And so I will tell people, if you can afford it now, and it's okay, there's really no risk, in my opinion, in buying it, as long as you can afford it.
Right.
Exactly. And you're going to have a secure job and all that, which I know sometimes people go, well, who knows about the job market? You're right.
Yeah.
But if you feel safe and secure in your job and you can buy.
Yeah. And
you know.
remember, if you're a seller who's thinking about buying, and if let's say you lock in the rate today, let's assume it's 6.8 as an example, right? So even if the rate goes up to 8%, you locked in at 6.8, right? And then if it drops in a year, 2 years, or 6 months, maybe the Trump administration is going to force Powell, which we hear he's going to force him to drop it. That's a good thing. I mean, for home buyers, maybe not for the economy, but I don't know. So you have to think about your current situation is not permanent.
Right.
And you have a smaller mortgage compared to a first-time buyer, because if I'm selling my home, any seller who bought a home in the last 3 years, they have had 20, 30, 40% equity raise. Anybody who bought 10 years ago or 11 years ago, depending on the market, has doubled their equity.
At least.
Guys like me, who have been here 25 years, I've got nothing but equity.
Right.
I might have refinanced for kids' college or whatever, so there's a lot of equity. So take advantage of the equity, because, there's a saying right now that most Americans, or all Americans, are house rich, but they're cash poor, right? I got a lot of money. An average American's wealth is in their house. But guess what? That wealth is sitting there. You can't do anything with it. So might as well sell your house, take the equity, buy your house, maybe invest in something and do something with that, because right now that money is not working for you. It's zero. It's at 0% efficiency, right?
Right.
Make something out of it. I know some people. I'm selling a house right now. We have an offer out, and he's a good friend of mine. He's got 2 or 3 homes. So when he refinanced, he pulled some cash out, and now he's going to buy. So and he's putting $500,000 down. And then when he buys that, after next year, he'll pull more money out and buy another one. So now from one, he's got 3 homes, rental homes, not counting his regular home. So he's got 4 homes. Guess what? It came from his equity. And these homes, what happened was, if he bought it at 500 3 years ago, it's worth, let's say, 650, 700. So he's got an equity growth, and his equity is growing.
Right.
So at some point, you're going to have to use your equity. If you think about expanding your wealth or moving, don't just sit there. If you think about moving to your loved ones or different area, better area, make use of that equity and bite the bullet, and ready, willing, and able to buy.
Right.
Are you ready? Are you willing? Are you able to? We can tell you what to do, but these are your options, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I want to touch on, I know we talked about Scottsdale and we talked about Anaheim Hills area. Do you know any areas that are not doing well or might be well regional? If you talk about it, of course, we don't have the, all the stats.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at some of the articles, the places where prices are falling are like Austin, Texas, Florida. Oh gosh, there's a few other areas as well. I can't think of them off the top of my head. Those 2 seem to be the ones that come up the most. I feel like, but I mean, I don't know. Are your prices still climbing significantly?
Yep. Not significantly, but yes, they're not dropping for sure.
Yeah.
There's multiple offers. The 2 homes that I was going to write an offer on in the city of Cerritos, which is about 20 miles from here, which is LA County, 2 weekends ago. 2 homes we saw at one was listed for $950, one was listed at $980. Both of them got multiple offers. Both of them sold at list price or over, and they had cash offers. One of them had 15 offers in 2 days.
Wow.
And then when I called the agent, when I called the listing agent, say, hey, and I talked to him several times. I called him for information. I called him to show it. I met him at the open house. When I asked him, should I write an offer? He said, if your buy is not a cash offer, don't even bother. That's what he told me.
Yeah, we don't have that going on unless it's a really, really, really good house.
Yeah. Well, that was during the week the fires were going on. That's Cerritos, LA County. But in Orange County, where I'm at, which is 20, 30 miles from LA County.
Yeah.
Good homes priced well and marketed at market price. I'm not saying a throwaway price, but fair market value. They're selling at list price, selling very fast. And I think, my personal opinion, based on what's going on, we will see an increase of anywhere from 3 to 5% in Orange County for sure.
So here's the other question. I don't know if you've talked about this already, but do you feel that you are seeing people that have lost their homes in LA come in to where you are to buy houses or to rent?
Yes, they will. Yeah. They're going as far as San Diego. They're going as far as San Diego. I was talking to a realtor And these are people that may have the business or they're retired or whatever, but they're going as far as San Diego, because what happened the first week after the fire, or even now, there's a lot of price gouging. In fact, one realtor got caught and he's going to end up in court.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because the 2,000 or 3,000, well, there's no 3,000 a month rent, but 4,000 a month rent, they were charging 8,000, 10,000. And I think our governor has put a price gouging bill out there already. But I know people are moving as far as Orange County, as far as San Diego. They're going to Bakersfield. They're going to Las Vegas because there's a big shortage of rents. And those who can afford to go, if they're retired or, they're going there.
Yeah.
But there's a big, big shortage of rents right now. And it's just crazy out there what's happening.
Yeah. I was talking to an agent in San Diego as well and asking him the same thing. And he said, I've had one, but I haven't seen a ton come all the way down this far. But I know how much closer Anaheim Hills is to LA.
Right. Yeah, it's depending on traffic, it's 45 minutes to an hour away.
It's 2 hours with traffic.
2 hours. With traffic, with traffic, 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what I heard today is it's going to take a minimum 2 to 3 years to get where they were. So we had this issue for the next 3 years. So this is an ongoing problem. So I think rent will only go up. It'll only go up. They're not going to come down.
Well, and it'll be interesting too to see if people decide, and I've talked about this on my channel. It'll be interesting to see if people decide just not to rebuild and move.
Yeah,
but I don't think that we're going to see that right away. I think it's going to take time.
Somebody's going to build, right? Like, let's say somebody's house was burned and say, you know what? I'm absolutely not going to build. I'm out of here. So when I buy the land, number one, I want to make sure as an agent, or even if I have a client, I want to make sure that we are not price gouging. So we're going to pay in the market value and not steal it from them, and then build on it. So if you buy the house there, somebody's going to build on it. If you don't, then somebody's going to build, because there's no land in those areas. Are posh areas.
Right.
Pacific Palisades, from what I heard, average home is about 3 or 4 million.
There's places that are not. Again, the agent that I was talking to, his sister lived there, and she was one of the only houses on her street that didn't burn. And so I know that there's some other people that, they're not living in $3 to $5 million mansions in Pacific Palisades, but it's an extremely wealthy area. Very
then Malibu, then you have Altadena. Altadena is a lot of older homes there. But even if the current owner doesn't build, he's going to have to sell the land, or if he sells the land, or he or she sells the land, somebody's going to build on it.
Right.
Either developer will buy it, or
but like they're going to have to go somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see. And again, I don't think we're going to see it right away. It'll be interesting to see if other areas, like closer there, if they stay close, if other areas feel a big impact from it.
I think we will feel it. Orange County, like people, I can see some Pacific Palisades people, $3, $4, $5 million homes coming to Irvine, coming to Newport Beach, Anaheim Hills, Yorba Linda, a lot of nice cities out here.
Yeah.
And the homes they live in there for $4 million, they can buy here for $3 million. It's cheaper than Malibu, right? A Malibu is $5 million home, will be $3 million over here, right? It's Malibu. You're on the beach. You got the celebrity status there. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of movement, especially for rental. They'll rent out here and then move back when the house is ready. But I was reading on the way back here, I was listening to the news, and Mayor Bass was just getting bombarded with questions and say, how long is it going to take? How long? And she says it's going to take at least 2 to 3 years. And right now, EPA is involved in this, so nobody can do anything until they give a green light or make sure it's not a hazard. And that's going to take 3 or 4 months. Then you got this insurance. It's going to take so long to get this insurance. And of course, I'm telling you things from my opinion based on talking to buyers and sellers all day long. I'm looking at 3 or 4 year process, let alone forget 2 or 3 years.
And I think that's why we're going to see some migration, because
of a lot of the insurance companies are not paying them. So the leadership is forcing them to pay them. A lot of them, they give them 25 grand. They need to buy groceries or buy a new car or new clothes. So I see some delays going on.
In California's fair insurance, the max that they'll pay out is $3 million.
Exactly. And that's another issue. I mentioned that in my video too, that all these people, an average home is, let's say, $4 or $5 million. They only got 3 million from if they had. And I know from what I understand, because I have State Farm and I was talking to a friend of mine who's a State Farm agent.
Mm.
The State Farm got out of that area a few years back, so they were not even giving State Farm insurance there because they did their calculation. They have those actuaries or whatever they do all the calculation. They knew ahead of time that there's a hazardous area, and they pulled out.
Yeah.
So a lot of them had the state fair.
Yeah. Back to your question of like supply and demand. I think a lot of that for you specifically, I think it's going to have an effect. I have clients right now that are looking to buy and they're worried. They're like, I need to find something before all the Californians come over here and start buying and our prices start going up.
You know what? I can guarantee you that a lot of these guys are coming to your area, especially those high-end areas like La Mesa or whatever, Scottsdale, Glendale, all these high-end areas. They're going to come there because for these guys, $1 million is nothing.
Yeah.
I'll give an example. I was previewing a home 2 weeks ago. I just happened to go see a $22 million house. I just wanted to say I don't have a client for it, but I was previewing it because we got to know what's in style, what's trendy. So while I was there, this agent got a call from another agent from LA. She said, I know your house is for sale. Name your price for rental. We'll take it. And she's telling me, should I say $70,000? And you know what? Month. I'm talking a month.
I know.
You would have gotten it. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where it goes to the price gouging that I was talking about this too, because is it the agent that's doing the price gouging, or is it just the renters that are willing to pay that so that they can secure a place to be? I'm not saying it's right.
Well, in this house, the agent that called, I'm sure the client was a celebrity or a sports. Who can afford 50, 60 grand a month rent? When you say name your price, they don't care, right?
Right.
If I'm staying in a $10 million house and now I need a house, what's 50 grand a month?
Right.
Plus I have insurance, hopefully, or business that's making money. So, yeah, you're right. I think the trickle effect will be there not only in Southern California, but especially Arizona, because you're the closest, right? Nevada, they may not go there. Yeah. Phoenix, So.
Yeah, it's in. I mean, again, back to your original question about the supply and demand. I think that some of what happened over there, it could have an effect on some of the things to the nearby states. Could some move out of state and go farther? Sure. If they like, look, I'm going to go live where my family lives now, and it's farther away. That could happen too, but it would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and some people may, if they're retired or whatever, they may want to just go to North Carolina, South Carolina, Montana, Idaho, and say, what, screw it, all this. Let me go buy a house.
Right.
$1 million house I can go buy in Montana for $800,000, which I don't know how much you get, but I'm sure it's a big house.
Expensive in some areas.
It is getting expensive, right?
Montana's pretty expensive.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, compared to the Southern California prices, they can buy a decent home, a newer home.
Right.
Home with a big yard or view or a stream or something, right?
Right.
Or a ranch, and just start a new lifestyle.
Right.
So yeah. Okay.
It'll be interesting. I agree with you, though. I do think it's going to take time, but I feel so bad for all the people. I feel so
We're
bad.
sorry for that. It happened, but it's not the first time. We've had many fires. I mean,
and then the mudslides.
Yeah. I was evacuated twice from my house. It didn't burn down. I did have a fire, by the way, in 2004, a separate house fire. So I was out for a year, so I can feel for them.
Yeah.
I was out of this house for 8 months. But twice after that, I was evacuated because we had fires in the hills, but then we came back after 2 days. I went to stay at my son's house close by, so we're going to switch some gears, and I want to talk about two things. Number one, and of course, this is not in our line to discuss it, but what do you think the buyers and sellers are thinking as far as home prices going up? And what do you think as an agent going to happen to the prices in general, not specifically to your area or to my area, but in general,
I personally, what do I think the buyers and sellers think about the home prices?
In 2025, what's going to happen,
I think sellers I think that it's great if the home prices keep going up, and buyers think it sucks.
Right.
What do I think is going to happen overall in 2025? I think we're going to see a lot of just stagnation in prices. Okay. I think we're going to see flattening. I think I think that there's going to be those onesie twosies that are fantastic and they can kind of name their price.
Right.
But the rest of it, I just think we're going to stay flat. And I think we're probably going to see appreciation at the rate of inflation, maybe right around there.
Right.
But I don't think we're going to see anything drastic in 2025.
Right. Okay. Okay. Let me see here. I'm going to see a chart over here if I can see something. Yeah. What about the affordability? I mean, the whole talk is affordability, right? So every time you wait, and a lot of buyers have been waiting and waiting and waiting, but as you wait more, the two things are happening. Number one, three things are happening. Interest rate is going up, still going up. Prices are definitely going up. But now your property tax and insurance is going up. Your maintenance, your electricity, your gas bill, your grocery bill, eggs is what, $9 a dozen?
Oh my gosh. If you can get
All
them.
that is going up. So what's happening is it's impacting one thing, your affordability.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm looking for a house in Scottsdale for 800, I may not be able to buy an 800,000. And we're going back to what we discussed. I may have to go back to a 650 house, or I may have to buy that house that I buy in Scottsdale that's nice and new and view. I may want to go to Texas or somewhere cheaper and buy that for 650. I'm getting the same house in a different area.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's what people are looking at. And I think that's one of the things that some like first-time home buyers and things have really struggled with,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think it's something that I've talked with. It's, yeah, I know you want a 4-bedroom house with 2.5 bathrooms and a pool and the whole thing, but that puts you over your budget.
Right.
So I because of that, I don't think you should not buy a house, but I think we should probably look at maybe some other alternatives to keep you, especially if they want to be in a specific location. So then we need to adjust what your expectation is on what you're going to get for that money. Right. And I think it's still a bad idea to buy, because if they can't get what they want, no. Because I mean, the first house that my husband and I bought was not our forever house. You know,
mine neither. I bought a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo. Didn't want it.
we had 2-bedroom, 1.5 baths.
Yep. Yeah, 1.5 bath. Yeah. Yeah.
And we had no garage.
Okay.
You know, and our interest rate was 7%. And my father-in-law said, lock that rate. You are never going to see rates this low again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
one thing that the buyers and of course they already know, but they keep forgetting that. Yes, the prices are high. Yes, interest rates are high. Yes, inflation is high. But one thing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed, but this is guaranteed. If you buy a house today, and if you wait 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, statistically, if you look at the last 40-year history in US, home prices are going to go up 3 to 5% per year. Yeah, you may buy your house over here. It may dip to here, but over the long term, so if you buy a house today for 500, I can guarantee you that in 15, 20 years, it'll be worth $1 million or more, right? Guaranteed. So time is on your side. So yes, they're expensive right now, but if you look 15 years ahead and say, I'm going to buy this Scottsdale house, $800,000. I'm going to bite the bullet and buy it, work extra if my insurance goes up. But I know that in 20 years, it'll be worth 1.6. And hopefully I'll have that house paid off if I use the accelerated payment method, which we won't talk about it, but it's going to be one of my live. We're going to talk about how to pay off a house in 15 years or save 5 years or save $300,000 on interest. So we're going to be doing a live on that in the next few moments or so next. But that's the good thing, is that when you buy a house and if you wait, it's guaranteed to go up.
Well, and I get some people, because I've got one client specifically right now that he bought a condo when he was in medical school, right before the crash. So he paid a high price. He bought it. He was in medical school, and then he graduated from medical school and he needed to move for his residency. He thought, well, I'll just sell it and I'll make money. Well, then the market crashed, and then he was stuck. And so now he's very, very cautious and he's very concerned. And this is all I can say about that. Because to your point, if you hold it long enough, it's going to come back. My husband and I bought our house well before the housing market crash. And it went up to a price that was crazy. We thought, who would pay this much for this house? Yeah. And we were not in the house we're in now. And when the market crashed, we didn't move. Before that, everyone was moving. We almost did. We didn't. We're like, we're just going to stay where we're at.
Right.
And we stayed where we were at, and the market crashed. And our home value came down to about a little more, but about what we paid for it. And we stayed even longer, and it all came back. Yep. So was that a long period of time? That's 17 years. But we didn't lose a dime. We made money.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's one of those things too. Like people go, well, but if I don't make money, people think that you should be making a lot of money in your house really fast. That's not the norm.
That's not the
What
norm.
has just happened the last few years is not normal.
No, we may
It's
never
not
see that
normal.
again.
No.
At least my lifestyle, my
Yeah,
lifestyle.
I know. It doesn't happen. So I think that's the other mindset that people have to get in, is that when I buy a house, I'm not going to see my house appreciate $200,000 in a year.
No.
It's not
No.
going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's going to appreciate. You're
Right.
going to be paying it down. It's almost a forced savings account.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, cool. Well, I want to talk about something very important. We've had a great conversation. We don't have any questions, but I know they are listening. I've got some likes over here. And I know some people see it on Facebook and some people can see it on LinkedIn. So I don't know if they can make comments. So I heard some people can, some people can't, but that's a technical issue. What I want to talk about is what options do sellers have, or what can they do to make the house more sellable? Like you were saying, in Scottsdale, there's some homes are not selling, they're sitting. One thing is drop the price, which means you're overpriced for the current market. What are 2 or 3 other things that you want to talk about that sellers could do to attract more buyers if there's a lot of homes that are not selling in your area? It could be any area. It doesn't have to be Arizona or Orange County.
Oh yeah, it's the same really across the board. Make sure it's
Right,
clean.
exactly. Right.
Make sure it's clean. Make sure there's not a lot of deferred maintenance that is visible to the naked eye, because maybe the buyer doesn't see it, but I'll tell you what, if I'm walking through it, I see it and I'm pointing it out to my buyers.
Correct.
And not just that. I mean, I just talked to somebody that has had 2 agents now. They're not happy. I looked at the pictures. He said, please, and he found me from my YouTube channel. He's like, please, will you just be honest? I can tell you'll be honest. I'm like, I'm looking at the picture of your powder bath and there are water spots all over your mirror. Who put that picture up? Shouldn't be there. The front yard, why was it not maintained before you had the picture? There are down trees, weeds growing in your grass. Like, who did that? You can't do that. You cannot present a house like that. And the last thing I told him, because it's vacant, he doesn't live in it, I said, you need to stage your house.
Absolutely. Yeah. Worst case, if you can't afford it, then do virtual staging, where they do the virtual stage. At least they see the picture with the room and the beds and the sofas. We
talked about that a little bit, and I told him my biggest problem with that is that there are so many people that are looking for a house they cannot visualize. So they see the virtual staging and they go, "Oh, this looks nice," and then they expect that furniture to be in the house because this virtual staging now is so good. They go into the house and they go, "Where's the furniture?" So they can't feel it, right? Like buying a house, when you walk into a house, for them to fall in love and make an offer, they have to feel something.
It. Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's my thing.
And I think, you're exactly right. And I totally agree with you, because one of the things it's so important. Number one, my rule of thumb is, first of all, I stage it, absolutely stage it. Then just before the pictures come in, let's say I have an open house next week on Saturday, Sunday. I make sure that the maids go there Monday, Tuesday. And I'm talking about maid with deep clean, the wall, windows, the bathrooms. Then I call the photographer Wednesday, Thursday, so I can have the pictures ready on Friday, right? Because it's one-day job. This is editing right away. Because the pictures are so important. Videos are so important, because guess what? 95% of all the buyers, they start their search online. And the way they do today, especially the millennials, you guys out there, this is how they look at pictures. Oh, a house, Scottsdale, 18. Oh, look at that yard, dry. Right. They move on. So unless you have a great picture that attracts, not that your house is bad, the picture was bad, and they go to the next one. Right. So it's very critical that your house is clean, because once they see the picture, they're going to come and make sure it's good.
Right. And I don't know how yours works. We have the ability to put coming soon in our MLS.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I see agents that put coming soon into the MLS with like one picture.
Yeah.
I tell my clients, I'm like, I'll do coming soon, but I have to have all the pictures, because it's going to syndicate. It doesn't syndicate out on a Zillow or Realtor.com, but it goes out if it's in someone's portal,
right?
That an agent has set up, and if it goes out with no pictures or one picture, they pass it by.
Right. Okay.
And so you have one chance.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, one chance to make a first impression. And so if those pictures and that video, if it's not good right from the get-go,
yeah,
you might have missed your buyer.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So that was a good pointer, that you absolutely have to clean the house, stage the house, take great pictures, must take videos, take the drone shots, because they want to know what's going on in the neighborhood. So the other thing I want to talk about is, let's say the seller has done that, has done the staging, has some great pictures, is a great agent. it's not still selling, then we know, you know, and I know it's the price.
Mm-hmm.
So how soon do you drop the price if it's not selling?
I like to drop the price. If it's not selling within the first 2 to 3 weeks, I like to do a price cut.
Right. Okay. So how do you tell the sellers, because obviously the seller didn't listen to that agent to begin with? No, I want $1 million, even though it may be what, 850 or 900. Hey, market's crazy. Fire was happening. They're going to come, but they're not coming. You know, it's almost January. House hasn't sold.
Right.
Now what? So how much do you drop? How do you convince the seller?
I have a conversation. Yeah, I have a conversation with before we list it.
Okay. Oh.
And I just usually tell them, with this price, one of two things. Either one, I'm going to let them push it a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but I'm going to let them push it a little bit. Not much, a little. Right. But then I tell them, if we do this, I'm giving it 2, max 3 weeks.
Right.
No offer, any, not as many showings, the whole thing. We're having a conversation, we're dropping it. And when we drop it, we're dropping it below my suggested price now. Oh,
wow.
Because oftentimes it's maybe just, I only let them go a little higher. Because when my belief is, if you're gonna do a price cut, especially the first time, you better make it significant.
Right.
And people always say, well, how much? I'm like, well, that depends on the price point.
Of course.
Of the
you
house,
can't do on $800,000. Don't do it $5,000.
No.
There's no impact.
No.
Right.
And these agents that do this $1,000 price cut just to make it pop back up, worst strategy ever. Don't listen to an agent that tells you to do that.
So if an agent watches this video, and if you're doing that, remember 95% of all the homes are sold via agents.
Yeah.
So you can't fool an agent.
No.
Right. So be good to yourself, and this is probably the agent and that agent's probably not going to be here next year anyway. So those are the agents that do it. They come and go. They don't know what they're doing.
No, you can't. Right. You can't. Don't drop it $1,000.
Right. Yeah.
No, I mean, you have to make a significant shift in the price so that people look at it and they go, okay, this seller's now serious.
Right. He wants to sell, or she wants to sell.
Otherwise, what I always tell people, if you start making tiny little price cuts, 5,000, 10,000, depending on the price point, you just start the death spiral of the price drop.
Right.
Because now the buyers are watching it. They're like, oh, they made a $5,000 price drop. Let's see how much they make the next time.
Right.
Oh, they did another 5,000. Let's see how much they do the next time.
Right.
And they'll just sit and they'll wait until they feel like it's worth it.
Right. Yep. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about one last thing. And this is total, what do you call, projection. What do you feel? I'll give you your opinion. I'll give my opinion. You give your opinion. What will make the inventory go up in this year or next year? What's one thing that you feel should happen? That's the only way the inventory can go up.
Well, I think the biggest way is interest rates.
That's what I was going to say. You took my answer.
Sorry.
Now I got nothing to say. Yep. If interest rates drop, all these sellers who have golden handcuffs from 3 to 6, they'll buy, they'll sell and buy.
Right? The unfortunate thing is I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. Not even next year, you think, or
maybe next year a little bit more, but I think we're going to see, look, I could be totally wrong.
Right.
I'm willing to be wrong on this. I am not dying on the hill.
Right.
But I don't think it's happening.
You don't see a price drop, maybe even 6% this year?
Do I think we're going to get to 6%?
Yeah.
This year? No.
Yeah. Well, Trump said, in fact, the report just came out yesterday. He's going to force Powell, which is the federal, which presidents have no control over interest drop. It's the federal, right?
Well, and the thing is
he can arm twist, right? So
yeah, but if the Fed funds rate drops,
right,
it doesn't always affect the mortgage interest rates.
It doesn't.
Usually,
it dropped today, right?
Go up.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, is there an indirect correlation? Yeah, kind of, yeah.
But it's not.
I mean, if you track it, the Fed funds rate drops, mortgage interest rates go up. And what happens is the mortgage interest rates go down before they announce the Fed go down. The Fed rate goes down. As soon as the Fed rate goes down, mortgage interest rates goes back up.
Right. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah.
So, I mean, it just, the lenders bake it in before and then they see how much they're going to actually drop it and then they adjust,
Right.
So again, the only thing that's going to help, which would help with inflation. Well, I don't know, it would help with people's payments potentially.
Right.
Because it's credit cards and car loans and that kind of stuff.
Even if it's $350 a month, $300 a month, that helps.
Right.
That's a car payment, right?
Yeah. Well,
so one thing that I think,
average car payment right now, do you know what the average car payment is right now?
No.
It's like $800 to $1,000.
Average?
Yeah.
Even for a Camry or like
something like that. It's crazy. I'm like,
crazy.
who's paying that kind of car payment?
Oh my, and it's probably 60 months, not for
I don't
usual.
even know.
It
That's
used to be
crazy.
48 months, and now it's, my car, I got a 5-year loan. Used to be 4 years. I remember it was 3 years, then went to 4 years, now 5. I've even seen 72-month payments. At
Yeah.
6 years.
I don't.
Yeah.
I
So I want
mow my
to
car
mention
myself.
something that could happen that can reduce the inventory is that is combination of city-state regulations for new home builders, cutting back on the permits and red tapes and all that, and making it faster. Because I have a developer friend. He said he bought a land. It's about 5 acres, and they're going to build 200 homes. He said it's going to take us 2 years just to get to the permit stage. The CUP, the conditional permit. Okay, it's zoned for agriculture. Now they got to zone it for homes. It's going to cost them $400,000-$500,000 to do that, but it's going to take them 2 years.
It takes a lot longer in California than it does in Arizona.
Yeah, California. So if they can do all that in 2 years and not 4 years, we got more homes. So I think cutting the red tape with new home builders and having more, no, I won't go there. We're having mass deportation, but we'll see the impact. But, cutting the red tape is one thing. Make those homes faster. The way to build homes faster is get those paperwork out of the way faster. There's so much red tape.
Yeah, here's my only thing with that, because I've heard that. And being in the business before 2008 and watching all those new home builders build and build and build and build and build, overbuilding. Even if they cut regulation, I don't know. I think that they could cut regulation and the developers could have the land ready, but I don't think they'll do anything. I don't think they'll do anything until they know they've got the demand. And if they don't think they have the demand,
saying
they
is
won't tie the ground.
cut the permitting 2 years.
Right. I get
what
that.
you're saying. If I'm a builder, build 100 at a time. Yes.
I don't think they'll build 100 at a time.
They won't do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they don't want to overbuild.
Yeah.
So I think they're always going to be, like where we are, their builders are building, right? And there's quick delivery homes, but there's like 2 or 3 in every community.
Really? Oh,
there's not like 10.
Right. That's why they sold out all the time. That's one way of them keeping the prices up too, right?
Right.
I don't have a house. You want this one?
Yeah. On some of their quick deliveries that are done, ready to go, like they'll reduce the price to try to get it gone.
Okay.
And then they add incentives on top of that and everything, which is the right thing to do. But I remember before 2008, and there were homes being built everywhere here.
That's why they got, because of 200 homes and nobody could buy. So they lost money.
They'll do that again, even if they cut regulation. I think if they cut regulation, they'll get it all ready, and maybe they'll build 1 or 2 to get that momentum. But then if there's demand, that just helps them increase their prices and get, increase their margin.
Right.
I don't think, even if you cut regulation, I don't see builders just starting to just build a bunch of houses.
Right.
Then lowers prices.
Right.
I don't see it happening.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been great. We've got a lot of information. Hopefully you got the information. If you have any questions or comments or want to know Arizona, contact Sean. Her information is going to be in my description. There's going to be a YouTube channel. Her contact information, so contact her. Any place else, California or any other state you want a local lender or realtor, will be glad to refer you to you and just talk to them. They'll give you insights on what you should do, when you should do. So, we do this for a living, so we know what we're doing. So do contact us. Appreciate your viewing this during live and after, and come back again next Monday at 4:30. And thank you, Sean, so much. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Any last words? Go ahead.
No, thanks very much for having me.
Okay. Thank you all. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.